Hello, everyone. Good morning or good evening.
Good morning, Lokman.
Morning.
Good morning.
Hi. All right. So, shall we?
Good, good.
So, any questions related to yesterday's topic?
Yeah.
One thing, every programming languages is associated with the script, right?
No.
Okay.
Programming languages different. Scripting language is different.
For example, like Java is a programming language and
Yes.
JavaScript script
Yes.
we using as
Yes.
a
Yes, that's right. So, Java is a programming language with a lot of, features related to the object-oriented programming concepts, everything. But if you consider the Java, right, it is having a very, wide framework for developing the applications. You can able to develop a simple desktop application or a web application, right? So in order to implement your business logic, we can use Java. But apart from that, there are certain, uh, lightweight scripting has to be implemented. So for such lightweight implementations, we cannot rely on the huge Java packages. Okay. I'll give you some scenarios today. Don't worry. I'll show you how it is different and how we can able to make use of it.
okay.
Sai, I have a question.
Yeah.
See, day before yesterday, from source machine, we were sending one file to
Mm.
a target machine.
Okay.
So, can we, for in the first question I have is, can we establish two-way communication? Like even the source, even
Possible.
the target can send the file.
Possible. Follow the same procedure. Share the credentials of your target 2 to target 1 and enable the secure connection between the servers, and you can able to enable the two-way communication.
Okay,
So as of now, you were able to share the credentials, right? From your DevOps admin user to user and admin user 1. Similarly, you have to enable your access between with that server as well.
okay. Like in the first case, from sending a file from source to target, we were copying that public key. We were
Mhm.
generating, so from source we were generating one public key, and we
Yeah.
were copying it as an authorized key in target machine.
Yeah.
So if the target machine also wants to communicate with the source,
Mhm.
then we have to do the same. Like
Yes, we have to do the same, right? So this is what, okay, so traditionally we were following these many process to, maintain the communication between the servers, right? And it's a it's a kind of a lengthy process to be, used with, like, because in real time we'll be working with a number of remote servers, right? So for in every server, if I have to create the user, share the credentials, means it's a lengthy process. So to overcome all these things only, we are now going to use a IAC tool like Ansible, right? So the
Okay.
same activities, if you want to implement, means you can rely on some IAC tools like Ansible. So there, your connection establishment, your key handling, that is a private key or authorized key handling, will be very straightforward and it is simplified there.
Okay.
I'll
But
show you.
in real-time scenario,
You
generally
have
we are sending packages and security patches from source to target. It is not the other way. Like,
no. Yes, that's right. That's right.
okay.
Right. Fine. So let's continue with the last entity in our scripting. So yesterday I was giving you some scenarios here, some scripts we were writing. Great. And today there is another interesting topic here is about functions. Okay. So any idea what is the need for function? What is a function basically? So if you consider our Linux shell script, right? Initially, when I started with this itself, I told you it is nothing but some set of instructions that we are going to perform, right? To execute certain number of tasks. So when I say a task is a function here. So consider I have prepared this particular task. This is my task actually. My task is to set up a build server. For this, I have created the script and defined it. Similarly, a script can have a number of tasks, right? One script can have a number of tasks or the functions or the methods. So whenever we are trying to, repeat a certain number of tasks, instead of directly coding it within the script level, we can define it as a function. So functions are nothing but a set of instructions that are frequently used within the program or across the program. So that is the main agenda for writing your functions. So functions are set of instructions that are repeatedly used within the function, within the script or outside the script. For example, let's say a small program, okay? In that small program, consider I just want to perform a user validation, user input validation. Correct. So user input validation is one function. So what the function is going to do means it is going to read the user input and check if the input is numeric. That's it. So this is the function which you are going to, this is a task that we are going to perform. So I have a program, and in that program, I have to perform this validation n number of times. Each and every time, whenever I receive the input from the user, if I'm receiving an input and I'm going to processing it, and repeatedly I'm trying to accept some number of inputs from the user. Means for each and every time I cannot write this logic, right? The logic, at least it will be having a 5 to 10 lines of code, assume that. So this 5 to 10 lines of code, I cannot write it again and again, correct? So whenever the set of task or instruction, if you want to repeat within your function, instead of hard coding the functionalities like this within your program, just define it as a script function. The script function will be defined within a script and it can be invoked any number of times. Correct. So that is the main idea of using your functions here. And these functions are not something new. Okay, even in programming language also, like when we talked about the initial DevOps implementation, I shared something related to your waterfall model and agile methodologies and all, right? So there also the entire application is divided into various functions, I told you, right? How the functions are divided, how the dependencies are maintained, right? So like this, a very frequently used set of instructions can be defined as a separate function, and that function can be invoked any number of times within your script or your program. Simple as that. Now, in shell, how we are going to create those functions, how we are going to reuse those functions. So that is what we are going to see now. And with the same logic, you can able to work on any other programming languages or scripting language as well, right? So I'll give you one small example here. I think with that example, you can able to quickly understand how we can able to manage the scripting and all. One second. And you guys, have you comfortable writing any script or program earlier in your academics, C program or something by any chance?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yes.
So it means already you must have written
And
some functions, right? Like, yeah, sorry, what is it?
no, Loks, I am very much new to this.
Okay, no problem. No worries. So I'll show you how to do that. Okay. Okay. So in shell scripting, if you want to create any function, this is how it is defined actually. So we are going to prepare a shell script. Listen carefully. We are going to prepare a shell script. And here we started with bin bash and we are going to define a function. The function can be defined using a function keyword followed by the name of the function. And use your curly brackets to maintain the function definitions. So it means print underscore hello is a function name, which is going to have 3 instructions. I just define this function here. Once the function is defined, I can able to invoke the function any number of times within the script. So we can able to call the function by using the function name, print hello. So like this, ultimately what I'm trying to here is I'm trying to execute these 3 lines of code n number of times. That's it. So try to understand syntax for this function definition in shell scripting. Function is the keyword and name of the function followed by the parenthesis. You see, so just create a function, invoke it. Like this, we can able to create any number of functions and it can be invoked any number of times within your program. In a very complex environment, we'll be having a dedicated function libraries where I'll create one file to define all my functions. And in which script I want to invoke, I can able to invoke it. Like this, we can able to write, application team will be writing some complex scripting also. All right. So this is an example to create your functions actually. Any question? Any question on this?
No log sign, not for me.
All right. So these are some building blocks, okay, like how we can able to prepare it. And also in your environment, right, there is something called finding and displaying the content or replacing content. A lot of things are there. So we can able to use it. Like consider I have a file and I just want to search for a particular character from a string of characters, right? So we can able to use it. Yes, spaces are necessary. Don't compare it with other things, okay? Because every scripting language has its own syntax rule, right? So it depends. Yeah, my server is starting now. Let me connect. Yesterday we have prepared a folder, right, to maintain our scripts. So if you want, you can reuse the same, okay, like anything for this. Yeah, you can consider the same example. So we are going to prepare the script, and the script can be defined with some number of functions, and it can be invoked any number of times. Okay, so function space, function name of the function, and invoke the function by using the function name. And a function can have arguments or without arguments. It depends upon your business logic. Right. So let me save this function. And so what you can see here, see the function name is this one. Print underscore hello is the name of the function. For any function definition, the function name is mandatory, and then it should be enclosed with parentheses. This is how we define the function name. It can be anything. It can be anything as per your need. Correct. So it can be your input validation or email validation or name validation, whatever the function name you can assign, give a name and then invoke it. Parenthesis is mandatory. What is the problem there? I'm giving you syntax, right? A function, this is the name of the function. So whenever you code a function, you have to define it like this. While invoking, it is not required. While invoking, we just refer the function name. That is sufficient. Clear? So now I just defined it once. That means we have defined 3 set of instructions, and we have just invoked it here. So I just invoked it 3 times. So the function is executed 3 times here. Got it? So this is the purpose of using your functions. So these are some building blocks. Okay, tomorrow if you get an opportunity to work on shell scripting, what I'm saying means as a DevOps resource, that too in today's generation, we never use much shell scripting because it's all managed through your IAC tools. But tomorrow, while using IAC tools, these are some concepts that will be helpful for you to write it. Like you can use your Ansible, you can use the Terraform, right? And also you can able to use your CloudFormation or ARM. So all those IAC tools can able to simplify this scripting effort. Okay, so maybe tomorrow while working on Ansible, I'll show you how the same thing can be achieved with the help of Ansible and manage your remote servers. You see? So any question on this? Writing your scripts and other stuff? You clear with this now? And also yesterday we have seen how to define a script with an argument, right? So how to pass the arguments within the script, correct? So this is an example, like remember we use $0, $1, right? So we can able to use that as well. So always the $hash will give the number of arguments, right? And even
Yes,
you can
okay.
able to have your functions with arguments also. We can able to define a function with some number of arguments. That's also possible. So I'll give you one small command here. Just try to understand what it is actually we are doing here. So just look into this command. Okay. So echo bash scripting bash language. Okay. So if you want, I can simply run this command and show you. Echo command is used to print the message, whatever we are trying to represent there. So using echo command, I can able to print this bash scripting bash language as a message. Now, my requirement is I just want to capture the very first bash and replace it with Perl. So SCD command is used to find and replace. Okay. So there is a command called SCD command. It is used for string handling. So what is the purpose of this command means? It is used to find and replace the string of characters. Find and replace the string of characters. So sometimes we'll be using these functions within the script to replace any string of characters, like for data replacement or any other form. So we have something called grep also. Grep is also another function we can use along with this. That is something used to find the content, but SCD is used to find and replace. Like in your file, you can able to search for a character and you can able to replace it, right? Like that, we can able to use your SCD. And why I'm giving you this scenario means even yesterday also I was talking about one function called length function. Remember, we can calculate the length of a variable, right? So let's say leng1 equal to str length of vr1. So if I say str length of var1, it will capture the length of this variable into this variable and able to handle it. Sometimes when you try to pass some runtime inputs, the input value should be exactly the same number of characters. So in order to validate that input size, we can use this length function and handle it. So these are some predefined functions supplied by your Linux. Okay, there are a lot of string functions, math functions that helps to perform your task. So when it comes to the function handling, the functions can be the function, yes, it is calculated. So when it comes to your functions, the functions in general, it can be your user-defined functions, or it can be your predefined functions. Okay. So user-defined functions are the functions that we can create, like how I prepared this function, right? Print hello. That kind of functions we can able to create. But apart from that, there are some predefined functions that comes along with your Linux package. So such functions can be directly utilized in your script at any point of time. All right. So that is what the examples when it comes to your functions. So as part of your scripting is concerned, you should know how to create a script. So we never write such business logics. Okay, like yesterday I have given you a lot of scenarios, right? So we never write such business logic or application logic in your scripting. We mainly use shell scripts to manage our packages, like this scenario. Okay, if you want, you can prepare this. Yesterday I shared this, right? Did you get a chance to execute the script actually? So if you execute the script, all these packages will get installed in your system. Not sure how many of you tried this. Just try it out. And what I can do, I can just use the script and save it in a separate repository. And whenever required, I can simply invoke it. All right, so this is a configuration for your build server. Similarly, we can able to have something to your test server. So let's say I have a testing team and they are expecting around 50 test servers configuration. So all these 50 servers I can able to create and I can able to configure through this scripting. So test server means it should have some testing tools configured, right? Like we can able to install JDK there, and we can able to install Tomcat, right? And also we can able to start the Tomcat service. Right? Yes or no? So when we talk about the test server, it is a server where we have to install the required applications to start the application, and also we can able to install some test ng and Selenium kind of testing tools for our further testing. So testng and Selenium are some testing tools to perform the testing, right? So the requirement here is, as part of your CI/CD pipeline, consider developer is ready with their application code and they have completed all level of testing at their dev environment. Now they promoted the code to test environment. So in test environment, we have to test all the possible scenarios. I'll be needing n number of test servers, and all those test servers should be created dynamically. And the dynamic testing should be done. And once the testing is completed, it has to be deleted. The server has to be deleted. So all these things can be possible through this one. Not only that, there'll be another scenario where we can able to start the servers. like test servers, and then stop the test servers. I'm just giving you some real-time scenarios, okay, where we can use this shell scripting. So consider I have around 50 test servers available in my AWS platform, and I just want to start all those 50 servers. So usually if you want to start the server, what we do, we have to get into the console and manually starting it, right? But practically we never do that. We never get into the console and manually start all those servers. What we do, we just pre-configure a script. Let it be like a test server startup script. And in that script, I'll be using my AWS CLI commands to start the AWS EC2 instances. Similarly, I can have another script. This is to stop the EC2 instances, right? And then you can able to configure this. So this will be the workflow. So what does the need for this means? Like in our initial session itself, we were talking about various environments. Remember, like for the implementation of DevOps, we have seen various environments, starting from a dev environment, build, test, and all other stuff. So if you consider this environment management, let's say I have some number of servers running in non-prod environment and some number of servers running in the production environment. So what should be the availability of these servers? What should be the availability of these servers? Guys, are you getting my question?
Availability in the sense you mean to say they should be up and running?
Yeah, that's what it means, right?
Okay.
So when I say production servers, the production servers should be available 24/7, correct? Because the live business applications are running on this machine, my customers are utilizing my applications. So let's say you're using Amazon.com, you're using Gmail.com, you're using Facebook. So 24/7, anytime end user can able to access that application. So in order to access the application, the underlying server which is responsible to run that application should be available 24/7, correct?
Right.
So this is what the availability of your production servers. Similarly, what is an availability of your non-prod servers like dev environment, build environment, test environment, and all? Do you think these servers also should be available 24/7?
No.
Not necessary. Why? Because this dev environment is something used by the developers. Test environment is something used by the testing team. So only during their business hours, only if the testing team is available for testing, we can use this test environment up and running, right? So here, this can be available only during your business hours, like it can be between 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. kind of thing. So this is what the availability you have to maintain for your non-prod servers. And for production servers, it should be available 24/7. Now, my requirement is every day morning at 8 a.m., I have to start all these servers. There'll be n number of dev environments, n number of build environments, as well as test environments. Practically, we can't do these activities through a manual approach, right? I can't go and start at 8 a.m. So what I'll do, I'll create one shell script. Okay, I'll create one shell script, and that shell script will be defined with some sort of instructions by using AWS CLI command. It will identify the target server and start that service at 8 a.m. And I can able to schedule this to run at 8 a.m. Okay. Similarly, we can able to schedule this top service to run at 10 p.m. You see? These are some real-time scenarios where we can effectively utilize your AWS resources through your shell scripting. Any question? So these are all not something for your business application development, right? This is something for a process automation. I have my infra team. They're responsible to ensure that the servers are available. And through our automation, through our script, we are just going to automate it. That's all. So that's what the shell scriptings are basically used for, some process automation. Any question? In the next session, that is in the next topic, we'll be talking about the application development. Using Python. Okay. So,
Dr. Sai, before you proceed ahead, what is the meaning of this AWS CLI commands?
so it is a kind of utility, command line utility. It is a kind of command line utility through which you can able to interact with your AWS.
Okay.
Correct. It is just an example I gave you. Similarly, tomorrow, if you want to interact with your Azure resources or Google resources, you'll be using its own CLI or APIs. But
Okay.
if you want to actually work on it, first of all, you need to understand what is AWS, what are the various resources we can able to handle, how the resources are defined, right? And then you need to learn about AWS CLI. Then only you can able to enable in your shell scripting. Correct. So maybe tomorrow while working on your AWS module, you'll be learning about the CLI commands and interacting with the servers. You see?
Yeah, got it.
So we'll be seeing that in your AWS module while working on your AWS resources. I'll show you how to use AWS CLI. So clear? Fine. So now
Yes.
we are going to actually get into our DevOps process. So as part of your DevOps process, the very first stage of your DevOps is your continuous development stage. Remember? So what is continuous development? It is the capability of any application team to continuously develop the application source code. So as a DevOps resource, you should have some high-level understanding about how the applications are developed, how the development team are developing the application, and how they build the application, what are all the tools they use to build the application, and how they perform the testing and do the code promotion. On this perspective, you should have some understanding so that it will be easy for you to onboard that application to DevOps CSD process. And as part of this continuous development, what we have discussed, we expect the developers to create the source code and save that code in the source code repository. Correct? Once the changes are ready, they can able to take it for the further builds and deployment through our automation. So from the next module, that means if you can see your course curriculum here, we have completed our shell scripting and we are going to get into functions, fundamentals of Python scripting. Here you'll be learning about the overview of Python, the features, benefits, how to install and configure Python environment, and how to write some Python scripts and functions, right? What all the concepts that are associated to Python. And then we'll be seeing a small demo of how we can prepare a Python console application as well as a web application, right? And once this is done, the source code will be ready here. And from this module, that is version control system using Git. So from here only our actual DevOps tools is going to get started. So we'll be learning in detail from this version control system using Git, which helps to understand the source code repository. Like here we are expecting the source code to be saved in a source code repository, right? So we'll be learning about that in detail. And then we'll be getting into our Maven kind of build tools, Jenkins to perform automation. So the core DevOps implementation will be starting from this level. But before you actually work on this Git and GitHub, at least you should have some idea about the application development process, how the developer work, what is the day-to-day activities, how they can use Python or Java or C#, .NET or Ruby or COBOL kind of programming languages to develop the program. What are the building blocks? On that perspective, we'll be learning this module. Correct? So first thing, so before that, you have any question on this process, like what have we covered so far in Linux? So as part of our Linux module, just go with the flow. Like what are things I covered in Linux, starting from your package management, right? We talked about the user management, access management, remote server handling. So all these concepts are very much important. Even when compared to shell scripting, the remote server management, package management, and the file management are all very much important, because this is what your day-to-day activity. Okay. And we never write shell scripts because we have a lot of other advanced tools available in market. We'll be using that tools, because shell scripts also having a lot of drawbacks to be seen here. I'll talk about those things while we work with Ansible module. So any question on these topics, please let me know now. Did you get a chance to practice this, or you're planning to do that in this week?
Yeah, I'm planning for that.
At least
this week.
till this remote
just-
server management, you must have completed, right? So how was the
Honestly, I just revised till package management because of my office hours. So today onwards, I'll be working on file user and access and remote service management. And if in
Okay.
case I have any doubts, I'll be asking on Monday for sure. But yes, it is pretty interesting, I would say, and little confusing as well for a person like me who is pretty new to Linux.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, definitely that confusion will come. But once you start practicing, right, at least once or twice you practice, okay? It is not just going through the content. If you practice
Correct.
once or twice, it will be in your control. Don't worry.
Yeah. I'm also hoping for the best because it's very confusing as well.
No, confusion isn't like where it is actually like, are you able to understand the things?
Yes, I am able to understand the things. I'm
Uh,
able to
then
understand
the
the
point
commands as
is,
well.
yeah. So then the point is a practice.
Yeah, I know.
Practice. Once you start
Practice is
to
missing.
practice, definitely
Mm,
you can able to own it.
correct.
Correct. So please spend
Mm,
some time, and I strongly recommend try to complete it by this week itself.
yeah, for sure.
Because if you are postponing the things, right, next weekend it will be more. We'll be learning about Git module. There you'll be having a lot of commands compared to this Linux, because that is a core DevOps activities, right? So every week we are going to have more things in place. The things will get accumulated. So
Correct.
spend some time, at least 1 or 2 hours, and try to cover it up. Okay.
Sure.
And while traveling, or while, at least if you're not finding time to spend for 2 hours, means at least while traveling, that you have your class recordings. You just listen to the recordings once or twice. It'll get registered. It'll be easy for you to recollect the things.
Mm,
Correct.
yes.
So it is for everyone. Okay. People who are completely new, try to practice at least 2 or 3 times so that you will get the things in control. Otherwise, what will happen, tomorrow while working with our Jenkins module or Git module, you will be completely forgetting the Linux. Okay. So it happens. So don't give the chances. Practice on daily basis. Nothing to worry. Okay. Just think whatever we are covered, right? That is most of it. I'm just choosing the things that is required for interview. On interview perspective and your DevOps profile perspective only we are learning here. So it's very easy. Just go with the flow.
There are so many commands, and moving forward, more commands. How will you memorize all these things? Or by practice only, it will get slowly, slowly.
See, no need to memorize, sit and memorize. Okay. We're not preparing for any examinations, right?
No, if we are also doing the practical
Practice.
also, but we are
Practice. Practice is the only thing. Okay. You have to practice, no other option. And if you're preparing for interviews, interview level preparation will be completely different. But if you're
Okay.
preparing on any specific tool or a service, you have to practice it.
Okay.
But till you get comfortable. That is what. See, always the best thing is when you start practicing, just have a separate notes for your documentation. Don't simply copy paste from my class notes and practice it. Try to type the command wherever possible. It is not possible to type all the commands. At least try to understand the commands and have a documentation of it. Let's say you are working on your remote server handling. Any one example you can say. You are trying to access your remote server or you're trying to install some packages. So while installing the package, what are the commands you used? And while installing the package, what are all the issues you are facing? If you get any error, means have a habit of documenting it. Just maintain one Excel sheet. I'm telling you this for a whole batch, and I want this to be your continuous process, right? Till you complete your training program, you maintain one Excel sheet, and in that Excel sheet, just have the problem statement. And if you find any errors, just make a note of that error message also in the separate column. And then in the next column, you maintain the resolution, how you fix that issue. So if you have such documentations, right, end of this training, the document will be filled with a lot of commands, lot of issues that you were troubleshooting, right? It's all very much helpful for interview also, because during interview, you'll be getting such questions. What are the challenges you faced while working on these tools? How you troubleshoot the issues? So to answer all those questions, that document will be very much helpful. You see? So that is how, if you maintain documents, automatically you can able to recollect and remember all those things. You see? So these are some tips I'm giving you. Please try to utilize it. Maybe we can able to review it. While we progress after completing few modules, I can verify your document, like how much you practice, and you also can share with other team members also. Got it?
Sure.
Fine. So next
Sai,
we'll, yeah.
one small doubt. Can you just move to test server configuration? Just now you have covered test server configuration, right?
Okay.
So the second line, are you missing like install the second line, test server
Yeah,
configuration?
that's right. That's right. No, even we cannot install it directly. Why I never use the term install means Tomcat cannot be installed directly using this apt install command. Okay, we have to download the package, extract the package, and then set up the environment variable. A lot of activities are there. Correct. So it depends on package, the installation procedure varies. Correct.
It is not like a one line command.
It's not like a one-line command. Okay, we have some set of instructions to be executed there.
Okay.
So that is the reason just, mention like Tomcat. But once the Tomcat is installed, you can able to start the service by using this command. That is different.
Okay.
So using any package manager, you can install it. Installation means normally in Windows machine, if you want to install a software, what you will do? You have to download the exe and run the exe, right?
Correct.
Some softwares will be in the form of zip file. You have to download the zip file and extract it.
Extracted. Correct.
Correct? So just you extract, you can find the executable available there, right?
Correct. But
You can
whereas for
directly
Tomcat, there are some prerequisites which
Yes.
has to be installed, then only you could be able to install these
Yes.
things.
Yes, that's right.
Tomcat, Jenkins.
Yeah.
Okay.
So these properties, like which we have used now, package management. So I was talking about the package management activities, right? Like for managing your packages, what are all the constraints we have, like installing the prerequisites, install the actual package, and then perform the post-installation activities like that. Right. Right. So any other questions on Linux module? So a takeaway here is be clear with your package management, remote server management, handling the user credentials, how to establish a connection to the remote server, how to manage the credentials. All those things you need to be very clear. Hope I made things clear to everyone. Or any other
Yes.
issues or concerns?
No.
All right. So the next thing is about the fundamentals of Python. And here we are not intended to develop any Python, scripts or application development. We are learning Python on your DevOps perspective. Like as a DevOps resource, you should know how any applications are developed. What are all the things we have to follow there, right? And what are the concepts, core concepts of the Python, and what are the use cases? Like what type of application you can develop. The application developments can be your console application or your web application. Got it? So this is about Python. Similarly, we have something called Java, right? We have something called C#, .NET. We have Ruby. We have COBOL. We have C. Okay. Like this, there are a lot of programming languages used to develop the business application. So the points, whatever I'm going to share today, it is common for any programming language. I'm not going to just give it only for your Python. So the ideas, whatever you're going to gain today, with this, you can able to quickly understand about other programming language as well. Right. But before that, you guys are clear with the difference between the programming language and the scripting language, right?
Yes.
So what is the basic difference there?
In order to automate a process, we are using shell scripting,
Hmm.
which are like repeated tasks which you want to automate on
No.
day-to-day basis.
Okay, no, don't limit it with the shell scripting. Okay, in general, okay, any scripting language, it is used for process automation, right? And program languages are meant for
Develop the
Application
programs.
development.
sorry,
To develop the programs.
to develop the business applications.
Yes.
Okay, to develop the business applications. So any idea like how the developer work on daily basis? Like what will be the day-to-day activities? Hmm?
No.
Taking input from client
Mhm.
about their requirements.
Okay.
And I think on the basis of their requirements, they chooses the language
Mm-hmm.
and then they start writing the code as per the requirements.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what is a basic thing required for any developers or any person who writes a script or a program? What is the basic requirement?
To understand the business development and syntax.
Some kind of editor,
Okay, editor.
Visual Studio, or
You all understood my question, right? Yeah, if you understand, just let me know. Yeah, editors, Visual Studio Code. Okay, then.
So all in all, they need the environment basically to develop that code.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like in whichever language they are going to do the code, like if it is Python, then Python should be installed. If it is Java, Java should be installed.
Okay. All right. So I think you are not getting my point. Fine. So initially, when we talked about the developer's responsibility, right, during our continuous development stage, so we actually use the developers who can clearly understand the business requirement. That is a design document, whatever assigned to him. You should clearly understand the requirement and able to do the coding, right? So design document will be the single point of source for any developer to do their development, whether they're writing a script or they're writing their business application, whatever. Correct. But in order to create any script or a program, the basic requirement is any developer should have their logical thinking. Correct. The logical thinking is a very first essential thing for any developers. If you don't have the logical thinking, you have to develop that. Otherwise, it is not that easy to survive in the development field, application development field especially. In DevOps also, we write some scripts. To write the script, also we need some logical thinking. You need to create a logic, right? Business logic you have to create, no? If I give you some scenario, if I ask you to execute some task, it is completely your responsibility to come up with a solution, right? So how we are going to handle that? What is your way of thinking? Based upon that only the output is going to get presented. Correct? Yes or no? So one should if you're part of a DevOps team or if you're part of any application development team, always focus on how you can able to expand your thoughts and think beyond the box. So that is how you can able to come up with the solutions for automation, especially people who are senior resource here. If you're already experienced, if you're already working for some projects, right? And if you want to move towards DevOps, means you'll be the customer friend. Customer will be providing you some problem statements, and it is your responsibility to address those problems, right? So in such situations, how we are going to handle it? So for that, we need to be clear with what you're going to develop. So first and foremost thing here is you need to understand whether you're going to develop a business application or your process automation. So you need to be very clear with your scripting language and the program language. So basically this program language is used to develop some business applications, and scripting language are used to develop some process automation. So why I'm expecting you to be clear with this means I have given you some list of programming languages, right? Java. Similarly, for scripting language, I used JavaScript, correct? And when it comes to program language, we have Python also. Even you can use Python for scripting. So you're going to use Python for both application development as well as process automation, means how it differs, what we are going to achieve, how it is possible. That is what we are going to clearly differentiate. So as a DevOps resource, we never use Python for application development. It is just for the process automation. Like for example, in my previous case, I was talking about the server management, right? How to start your server, how to stop your server using AWS CLI. Instead of using shell scripts, you can use Python script also. What are all the things you can able to achieve through shell scripting? You can able to achieve it through Python scripting, because Python is having that much capability and it is having an extensive list of libraries supportive. Correct. So please be clear with the objective of your language first, scripting language. Got it. And there are some common use cases, okay, like in which scenario we can use it. Like when we start this session also, I had one question, like something related to Java, right? Someone asked, like
Yes.
Java and JavaScript. So what is the actual situation there? What is the scenario there?
Same thing. Python and Python script you have explained just.
All right. So now listen carefully. Consider I'm going to develop, I'm giving you one real-time scenario now, okay, just to differentiate the programming language and the scripting language. So consider I'm going to develop one business application. Let it be my e-commerce portal, like your Amazon.com or any other e-commerce portal. Got it? And in any e-commerce portal, there'll be various services, right? Like user sign-in service or login service and all. Consider I just want the user to log into my application. So I'm just presenting this login page. In this login page, I'll be expecting the user's email ID and then the password, correct? So he can able to proceed or he can able to exit. There is some button here to proceed further or exit from this application. So when you click on proceed, what happens actually? What happens after entering the input value? When he clicks on proceed button, what happens actually? What should
They are
be
able
the
to access
case
the
there?
page.
It will take you to that application home
Yes.
page.
Hmm.
He can able to do some search or adding the products to cart. A lot of things he can able to perform, right? He can do all sort of transactions there, right? So this is on the layman perspective you are saying, because that is what the any common user will understand. I entered my user ID password. It took me to my application page where I can able to search for product and do the transaction. But approach this on development or DevOps perspective. Correct. As a developer or as a DevOps resource, if you approach this application scenario now, you can able to find a lot of things. So this application, whatever we have, right? It is of 3-tier application. So when I say 3-tier application, we have a front-end design. That is your user interface, right? We have a front-end design. That is your user interface. User interface means through which end user can able to access my application. Correct? Like if you want to access your AWS resource, what you do? You use your console, right? This is the interface. Similarly, for your web application, if any end user wants to access, you have to create one user interface. So this can be created with some HTML kind of web application tools. That's not an issue. Now, once the user enter the input value here, what exactly happens? There is an application layer.
To validation, right?
there is an application layer that will receive your input and perform all sort of data validation. And then it will share that details to your database layer. Because if I enter the input here, this input will be actually stored in your database. It can be your Oracle database or MySQL Server database. So the user email ID and password, it will be taken into the table and just query the table. If the data exists in the table, it will allow you to go to next level. Otherwise, it will deny the access. Easy. So your application layer, what is going to means? It is going to pick up your input and send it to the database and query the data. If data is present, the database will throw the response back to the application layer. This application layer will send the response to your user interface. Hope you can understand, right? The flow of your execution, how the data is flowing from your front end to back end and from back end to front end. Are you guys able to understand this?
Yes, sir.
So any business application, it will be having three important layers or the components. One is the user interface, another thing is the application layer, and then the business or database layer actually. Now, in this application layer, only we are going to use your programming language. Correct? Like your Java or Python or whatever you're going to use, you can use a programming language. Because only the programming language is capable to easily interact with the front end and the database layer for data transfer or handling database or file system, anything. Is it clear now where you can fit in your programming language in your application architecture?
Yes.
It's clear to everyone now.
Yes, sir.
Now, similarly, consider another scenario. I'll take the same login page. In this login page, I'm expecting the user input like email ID and the password. And then I can have a login button or a sign out, cancel button, something like this. Now, the point is, user is going to key in their input. When he's trying to enter the email ID, can he enter any data there? Can the email ID be like this?
No.
Can it be like this?
No.
So any email ID should have the ID followed by the domain name. That is what the format of that email ID, the input field or the input value is having its own format. If the format is not appropriate, it is not possible to fetch the data. But there are a lot of chances. End users, they are just the layman. They definitely make some mistakes while entering the input. So assume that one of the end users, they have just entered the email ID like this, which is not in appropriate Gmail email format. So how your application layer is going to deal this validation? So for such data validation, I'm not going to rely on my programming language. I can use my scripting language there. Correct. So here in this use case, the scripting languages like JavaScripts can be used for data validation. why we use scripting language. Even you can able to achieve it through your application. I mean, programming language also. Even Java is capable to do this validation. But why we still use scripting language for this validation means whenever you invoke your application layer, right, it involves a lot of throughput because it is a huge application. Just for small validation, I don't want to give a control to my application layer. So there is something called client-side scripting. So through that web browser, I hope you all are aware of the cache memory, right? In your web browser cache.
Yes.
Yes, cache and cookies.
So
Yeah.
whenever you open any new website, okay, that website will be, loading some cache for that particular web browser. So what it is going to load means it is going to load some client-side scripting. So that client-side script, what it will do means it will just keep on monitoring the user input based upon the functionality. Sometimes I'm not sure how many of you observed. Okay, while you type the character itself, it will highlight the error. Have you noticed? If you enter any
Yeah.
incorrect data, like consider your registration page, you're creating a password, you're creating a username. The username should not have any special characters. If you key in any special characters, immediately there will be a pop-up menu. I mean, pop-up message will be there, right? Which will highlight and show you no special characters allowed. Have you noticed?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Similarly, when you key in the password, it will give you some pop-up message stating that password length is incorrect and all. So how it is possible? Do you think that pop-up message is coming from your application layer? No, because we cannot quickly get such pop-up messages through application layer. It's all done through your client-side scripting. That application, it is loading some client-side scripting. That script is doing all these activities. So for such lightweight user validation, we can use a lightweight scripting. That's why I told you your scripting languages are lightweight. You can able to deploy just with the cache memory itself. We can able to have those scripts. You can run your scripts with the cache memory, but you cannot run your application logic with the cache memory. Easy. This application layer needs a server, dedicated server to run and execute. But this client-side scripting doesn't require any dedicated server. Just with your cache memory on your browser itself, you can able to run it. That's why it is lightweight. So for developing a Java-based web applications, you can use JavaScript. If you're using a Python-based web application, you can use a Python script for such data validation. So this is how the differences between your scripting and programming. Am I clear?
Yes.
Is it clear to everyone or any confusions here?
Clear.
All right. So this is just an example. Now, how we are going to work on it. So as I said already, for any developer who's developing a script or a application, business logic, they should have some logical thinking. I told you, right? Logical thinking means, it is nothing, special. If you understand the requirement properly, and if you think on the end user's perspective, definitely you can able to get a lot of ideas there. For example, the application, whatever you are developing, consider you are going to use that application in the future. If you are going to use, what are all things you will expect? What are all the errors you will make while accessing that application as an end user? If you think on that perspective, right, automatically you can able to get a lot of ideas to develop and handle the scenarios. Easy. Are you getting a point?
Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So there are certain process involved. If I ask you to write a program or write a script, how you will start your process? Do you think developers will directly write their program? I have given them one requirement. And once they get the requirement, do you think developer should directly start their coding? What are the various stages of SDLC?
Data collection.
Requirement analysis,
Requirement analysis,
designing.
right? So after design only, we can go for coding. That is what the SDLC process preaches, right? So what it means here, once you understand the requirement, okay, once you have the requirement ready, analysis, and then design. Okay, and then code. So during this design phase, what are all things we have analyzed? It has to be properly documented in the form of your use case diagrams or the flow charts, right? A lot of no graphical representation of your functionalities, everything can be defined here. And developers should strictly follow the design. There should not be any deviation from the design. Now, there is something called program. Or a source code. So this program or source codes are written using high-level language. Correct. These programs are written using high-level language, like your Java programming language or Python. And before you actually write this program, right, as part of your application design documentation, developers will be analyzing the requirement and they have to prepare some algorithms. Have you heard about the term algorithm? Algorithms or
Yes.
pseudocode?
Yes, yes.
Any guess what it is?
A sequence of steps to be followed to develop anything.
Okay. So algorithm means it just gives you a fair idea. It is just a step-by-step process to achieve any task you're going to implement. And these algorithms can be written in high-level language. Got it? So I have given you the pointers here. Like before we actually start, you have to write your source code. But even before writing the source code, these are the steps to be followed. First thing is, what are all the steps involved to create the program source code? You have to be very clear with that. So these are steps. First, analyze the requirement. Even as a DevOps resource, we do this, okay? It is not just for application development team. Even tomorrow, if you write any script, whether it is your JavaScript or your YAML scripting or Python scripting or your Groovy script, whatever script you write for your DevOps practice also, these steps are very much important. So if you remember these steps, this is what you're going to follow in real time also. So first analyze the requirement and then design the solution. So in order to design the solution, we'll be writing some algorithms and then some pseudocode. These algorithms are nothing but some set of instructions or steps that you want to achieve. It is written in high level language. You can use your own English like language to write it because it is just to understand what you're going to achieve. That's all. And while writing algorithm, you no need to worry about any programming language. Independent of any program language, you can write that algorithm on your own language. And algorithm should be an optimized one. It means it should be very less in size. It means within the limited set of steps, you can able to achieve a solution. Let's say, for example, if I'm going to write a program, means the program is going to perform some function, right? So to create the function, I can able to write 100 lines of code or I can write 50 lines of code. It depends upon my logical thinking, correct? Yes or no?
Yes, yes.
To achieve a task, how you are thinking depends upon that the size of your program is decided. So when we talk about the algorithm, it is going to actually reflect your program implementation. So it should be an optimized one. So you should have a very strong logical thinking to identify the best way to give the solution. Because in real-time environment, if you take any problem statement, for any problem statement, there will be a number of solutions, different types of solutions. If you have 5 members in a team, each member can give their solution. But out of these 5 solutions, which solution is the best solution? You have to choose that and implement it. Correct? So the best one is identified based upon the optimization level. How easily you can able to achieve that solution, how easily you can able to code the solution, how easily it is maintainable, how easily it can be enhanceable, right? All those factors are involved there. And then it should be reusable and easily maintained. These are 2 factors that is going to contribute for this optimization. Why it is mentioned like reusability and maintainability means, consider today I have written one script. Tomorrow, if I want to work on the same task means, I should not create another script. I should be able to reuse it. That is the main objective. And also tomorrow, if I want to enhance something, I should be able to quickly make some changes in the existing script and enhance it. Correct? That is what. It should be easily reusable and maintainable. That is what your algorithm is all about. And once the algorithm is ready, depends upon the programming language. Like for example, if you're going to use Java means, based upon the Java related syntax, you'll be writing a pseudocode. Pseudocode is also a step-by-step process to achieve a task as like algorithm. But thing is that algorithm is written on your own language. It is independent of any programming language. But here, pseudocode is based upon the programming language. You can find some keywords based upon your programs. Easy. And why it is called as a pseudocode means the pseudocode is what something used by the developer to quickly convert to an actual program. Easy. So if you want, you can able to represent the program workflow using some flow charts or some graphical views for documentation purpose. Easy. Am I clear with this terms?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is like what we can say blueprint. Before you actually write your program, you're just preparing a blueprint of that program and get it verified and approved from your customer and with your team. Once you're okay with that, you can start your coding. Easy. Hope makes sense. Directly I would have jumped into Python, but that is not the actual thing. Okay, don't just focus on one thing, because in DevOps, the two in this coming future, right, 2025, 26 and all, right, we have a lot of opportunities. One resource should able to handle everything. That is what the expectation. So you should have a fair idea about all the areas related to the application development, testing, scripting, everything, so that you can able to provide an effective solution there. Got it? So now let's come to the point. I said to implement all these things, the very first requirement is, what is the very first requirement?
Logical thinking.
Remember or not, guys? What happened? You want to have a break?
Business requirement.
So first and foremost thing is your logical thinking. Got it? Only then you can able to perform all these activities. Business requirement all comes here only, right? You're analyzing it. Okay. So now how to focus on this logical thinking? How you can able to build or develop your logical thinking? That is very much essential. If I give you some scenarios, I think you can able to understand it better. So consider I have a variable 1, which is assigned with the value 40. And I have another variable 2, which is assigned with the value 50. So my requirement is I want to check which variable is holding the higher value. Which variable here?
Variable 2.
VAR2 is having the value 50, which is greater than variable 1. So just by looking into this input value, your brain is quickly processing it and it is giving a response. Similarly, if I have another variable and if I say like this, now
3.
it is processing, your brain is processing and it is saying it is 3. So how quickly your brain is responding to this input and giving a solution, right? That is what you are going to implement on your system. Your system is just a dump machine. It is just a dump machine. Whatever you are thinking, you are going to convert into a machine understandable code using some programming languages, and you're going to achieve it there. So the thing, whatever you are provided now, right, the solution, can you able to write how you are given the solution?
Yeah, if you're using if loop, you can use calculate.
I'm not talking about that and all. Okay, just listen my question. How you processed it?
By comparing the values.
That is what the point. So your brain will not know about that if loop and all. That is all programming terminologies. I'm not talking about any programming terminologies here. So when I talk about the algorithm, it is just a step-by-step process written in your own language, independent of any programming or scripting language. I'm not concerned about your programming terms here. Get your point? So it just compares, that's all. I'm able to compare the input values, and based upon comparison, I come to one conclusion, right? Same thing, you're going to achieve it through your programming. That's all. That is what your algorithm or pseudocode is going to helpful for you. So if I ask you to write an algorithm to get the maximum of 3 numbers, can you write an algorithm? A step-by-step process. How
Yes.
you compare it?
By
If you
comparing
want, you can
first
put
two
it.
values.
Yeah, if you want, you can put in a chat window also. Let me take it from there. Just write your algorithm. My requirement is to get the maximum of these 3 numbers. You got my question right? So my question is, you have to write an algorithm to find the greatest of these 3 numbers. Okay. If you want, I can give you one more if you're comfortable with that. Consider I have a two variables with some values, and my requirement is to calculate sum of two numbers. Calculate the sum of two numbers and print the result. This is just my problem statement. I've just given you problem statement now. It is to calculate sum of two numbers and print the result. Hmm? What is it? Okay. Guys, please respond. I'm waiting for responses actually. Or if you want to have a quick break, let me know. We can have a quick break and come back, but please be active. Want to have a break?
No, it's fine.
Looks anything.
Yeah, so please stay focused. Where comes the int and all? Why are you using the term int here? What it is int?
It is referring to the integers because numbers are integers only.
So, okay, okay, thanks for sharing those inputs. So I can see some responses here. So what is your thing? You're considering the numbers like VR1 equal to some value. And you're saying another variable also integer. And another variable also integer. And you are going to use VAR 3 equal to VAR 1 plus VAR 2. And then you're going to print VAR 3, right? If you want, you can able to read in between. That's what you're saying, right? Read statement is to read variable 1 and 2. That's what, right? Is my understanding correct? So this is what you have typed in your ASIO algorithm. Is this a valid one? Can you able to achieve this result using this algorithm?
If the user enters as a float number,
So that is what the point here. Okay. So when we talk about the algorithm, the very first thing which is required is to analyze the requirement. Whenever you get any problem statement, first you have to analyze. You have to clearly understand the requirement. Then only you should start writing algorithm. As soon as I asked you to write an algorithm, you started to write. I can see a lot of examples, a lot of things are coming in, and someone is using integer as the data type and all, right? So who asked you to use int here? This can able to provide a solution, right? If my input is 5, 5, your algorithm will be able to provide a result as 10. What if I enter the value like this? Your algorithm still work? Is this
No.
algorithm will work for this input value?
No.
It can work,
No.
but not completely correct. It will convert it to 123.
So now the point is, based upon your assumptions, you have written the algorithm now. The solution, whatever given, it is purely based on my assumption, not based upon my requirement actually. Correct? Similarly, if I use an input value like this, it is not a floating point. Will it work? Hmm? Will it work?
No.
No, because the
No.
size of that variable you mentioned as int, which cannot accommodate these many bytes. So these are all the things you need to consider before you actually give your solution. Okay, that is what the logical thinking means. So properly analyze your requirement and write or provide your solution. Do not go with your assumptions. If you go with the assumptions, definitely it leads to some rework. So just put forward a lot of questions. You might be expert in scripting. You might be expert in your technology. You might be expert in Python or Java programming. But without proper understanding, if you use your knowledge, it is totally useless. So first, discuss with your concerned team or the client and understand the requirements in detail, and then give your solution. So this is what expected, whether you're writing your programming or scripting language. Easy? You understood the purpose of this discussion, right? The discussion is
Yes.
not to, get me the result. I'm not going to use the algorithm to calculate sum of two numbers here. But going forward, whenever you get such requirements, how are you going to handle it? That is what the core objective of this discussion now. Easy? Make sense?
Yes, correct.
Fine. So now, like this, you can able to try a lot of scenarios. Okay, like these algorithms and all, right? You can able to write only if you practice with multiple scenarios, multiple, definitions. Okay. Say for example, consider, if you want, I'll give you one more scenario here. So if I ask you to print a value, asterisk, can you able to write a program to print this asterisk? Easy, no? Just a program with a print statement can able to do that. Similarly, if I ask you to print the same asterisk, sorry, in this manner, is it possible? Hmm?
Yes.
What are you going to do with this? How are you going to do this?
Using loops
So,
or single statement, we can give
yes,
directly print.
okay. The same asterisk, my requirement is you have to print in this manner. Is that possible? Is that possible? It is
Yeah,
not just
use
about printing. At each and every line, it should get incremented, and it should, I want this particular representation. Can
yeah,
you
nested
able
loop.
to write in
Yeah,
logic?
yeah.
Hmm?
Using array.
Yeah, nested loop we can do it.
So this is how, okay, just think about the criticality here. Okay, it is not just about hard coding. I can't have 5 print statements and print this value. That is not the requirement here. Like using a print statement also, you can able to sum up with just 5 lines of code, but that is not the thing. There should be only one print command. You should able to properly use the looping constructs to identify the initial value, increment it, and at each and every, the position also matters. Because if you see here, the same thing in, if you want, you can have a scenario like this. The same thing, it can be represented like this also. Possible, no? Right?
Yeah, yeah.
So in line number 1, you can have 1 occurrence. In line number 2, you can have 2 occurrence. In line number 3, you can have a 3, and here it can be 5. Right? So like this, you can able to maintain the different formats. This logic is completely different. This logic is altogether different. Got it? Not only this, if you want, you can able to enhance this with your next level also. Like instead of having these things here, what is the purpose of printing the static content, right? Let's have some computation there. Let's increment the value, handle it through some values. Possible? I'm not asking your program or the output. I just want your algorithm, how you think and come up with a solution. So this is what the core requirement for any user who's writing a script or developing the script. Any other question? So if you're clear with this, then you can able to work in any scripting language in future. There's no problem. All right. Now let's, any question here, or you want any other inputs on that? Guys?
No, sir.
All right. So now with this knowledge, you can able to start using any of your scripting or programming languages. So now we are going to start working with our Python. So in order to work with Python scripting language or a programming language or whatever tool it is, first you have to take care of the packages. You have to install Python, and you should have a valid ID for working with the Python scripting. So for this demo, we are going to install Python, and this is the official page from where you can download and install Python. If you want, I can show you that web reference. So if you go to this particular link, I'll put this in chat window, or it is updated in document itself, class notes. So just go to this site, and there is an option to download Python. It can be downloaded on a Windows machine or Linux or Mac. It doesn't matter. So just click on download Python. It will download an exe file and run that one. Easy. You can install latest version also, no problem. Just download. It will download an exe file and run that exe file to install in a Windows machine. Possible?
Yes, yes.
Let me put this in chat window now. You can just bookmark this page. Now, once Python is installed, you can able to see the default editor for Python. I've already installed Python. I did the same process. I just went into this page and clicked on this download button. It has downloaded the exe file and I just executed the exe file. While executing the exe file, right, it asks for some input parameters like where you want to install, what is the installation path, whether you want to set the environment variable. Just say yes. Don't change any default parameters. Just click on yes, 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 and proceed further. Got it? And now, once Python is installed, you can able to see there is a tool called IDLE. So this version, Python 3.12, has been installed in my machine. And as part of Python package installation, you can able to get this IDE. Yeah, it's loading now. So this is what the IDE, it is like a terminal through which we can able to work with your Python scripts and other stuff. So it is a very basic command line utility that comes along with your Python package. If you want, you can able to write some Python scripts, Python commands. Okay. Anything you can able to use here. Anything for that matter. Correct. So, but we never rely on this. It just comes with a basic capability like a command line utility. That's all. You cannot rely on this for your coding or development. So in order to do effective coding and development of a Python program, we need an IDE, integrated development environment. Remember, we have used this term during our DevOps discussions, right? Remember?
Yes, correct.
So as part of your continuous development stage, developers will be using their IDEs, like your Eclipse IDEs, Visual Studio Code or Visual Studio to use it. So in my case, I use Eclipse as well as I use Visual Studio Code. This Visual Studio Code gives you a better user experience to quickly code and develop your application source code. So once you are ready with your installation, Python installation, the next step is you have to install Visual Studio Code on your machine. So how to install Visual Studio Code means you have to refer the official page. And here it is. So this is the official page through which you can able to install Visual Studio Code. I'll put this in chat window as well. Please bookmark it. Bookmark this page. So if you go to this page here, you can able to find various options to install Visual Studio Code. Just click on this option, Windows, if you want to install Windows machine. Click on this. Here also you will get an exe file. Just run the exe file. Leave all the parameters as default and run it. Okay. So once you execute this, you'll be getting a Visual Studio Code installed on your machine. And if you open it, if you open Visual Studio Code for the very first time, it will be something like this for you. You'll be getting a welcome screen to access your projects and recent projects. And you can able to start using your utilities there. I'll show you what are the options available here. We'll see one by one. But before that, any question on these two steps? Can you able to install it?
Yes, yes.
You have another 10 minutes time. If possible, you can able to install this and make your infra ready so that we can able to start our learning there.
Okay, installing it right away.
Hope you all doing right, all of you.
Yes.
Okay. So whether you're using Python or not at a secondary, but Visual Studio Code will be using it in all our upcoming modules, especially while writing your scripts. Terraform and all will be promptly working on Visual Studio Code only. So how much time you need to complete this, or any challenges you're facing?
Not so far. I am just installing the Python. Now we'll go to the Visual Studio.
It's done, looks like done.
It's done.
All right. Right. So it's a very straightforward, no? While installing your Python, just enable the checkbox to set up the environment variable itself, automatically set up the environment variable also.
Yeah, correct. Setup was successful. Python.
All right. So shall we?
Python is installed and this Visual Code Studio is also installed. I'm just running the exe file.
All right. All right. So now, once your visuals, what is it called? Python is installed in your machine, you should be able to see a basic, ideally, it is a shell for your Python. So using this, you can able to interact with Python. You can able to run some Python commands, just one line commands. It's like an ad hoc commands we can able to execute here. Got it? But we cannot rely on this IDE for programming purpose, because programming involves a lot of functions to be created. It has to be edited, saved. A lot of things are there, right? So we cannot rely on this. So it is something like command prompt. Okay. So through this also you can able to interact. So for an example, if you want to print any message to the terminal, see, this is a basic Python command you can able to run. You can see print followed by the message. So in Python, the syntax is you should represent the constant value within parentheses. So actually you are invoking a function called print function with an argument. So print function is a Python predefined function which is used to print the argument whatever you're passing to that function. Simple as that. And the argument should be mentioned within double quotes, something like this. Parenthesis mandatory. If it is your normal shell script, we use echo command, echo space that value. But here we use print within parentheses. You have to maintain the content. Like this, there are some differences while working on various programming or scripting languages. So just utilize this. But all our upcoming scripts, whatever you're going to do, everything we are going to develop using your Visual Studio Code. Right? So for today's session, ensure that you can able to install both Visual Studio Code and Python, and keep your infra ready. So tomorrow we'll be working on this Visual Studio Code to create some Python scripts. Of course, before that, I'll explain you about some of the Python features, like what are the basic capabilities of Python, what are the use cases, what are the object-oriented programming concepts we are going to use in Python. We'll cover all the fundamentals of Python, and then we'll see how to develop a desktop as well as your, console as well as your web applications in Python. That's agenda. Easy. So any question on this, please let me know. I'll be updating these documents, okay, in your source code repository itself.
I don't have a question so far. Looks the only thing is the theme of your Python is white in color, but mine is showing as black.
You mean
From
that
where can I
ideally
change
shell?
it? Yes.
Ideally shell, right?
Yes.
You mean this one you're saying, right?
Yeah.
It is
See.
customizable, right? You just go to options menu and you can able to customize. Anything is possible. While installing Python itself, you have the option to customize this. That's not a big deal, okay? Don't give more preferences to all such things.
I was just
So
checking it
go
from
to options menu. There is an options menu, right?
yeah, let me see
Once
once
you open
again.
ideally, there is an options menu, and there you can able to see something called configure ideally. I see my screen.
Configure ideally. Yes.
Configure ideally, right? Just go to this option and
Yes.
explore it. That's all.
Got it. Correct.
A lot of things, the font size, the
Correct.
references, everything can be customizable here.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm updating this notes in your repository. Let's take some examples for that. Yes, guys, I'm done for today's session. If you have any question, please let me know.
Not for me so far, looks like.
All right. So just for your reference, you want me to share all these things, or you can able to manage it like these things what I've discussed? Anyways, I'll be uploading it in your repository for your reference. Fine. So you can, once Python is installed, you can open your IDLE and simply run a function using hello. Like this, we can able to verify your installation. And once this is done, in tomorrow's session, we'll see the features of Python.
Sure.
So yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you.
So yeah, I open the poll now. So for Python, I'll create a separate folder. All right, guys. Thank you.
Okay, looks hi.
Thank you. We'll connect tomorrow. If you don't have any questions, we'll connect tomorrow. Thank you all. Bye.
Okay, bye.